Hello everybody, and thank you so much for joining me on another edition of the Ponderables. Today I want to discuss 10 things that you will find useful if you're a new immigrant who has just landed in Canada and you want to have a soft landing, a smooth ride through the process. Because a lot of people come here and they make a lot of mistakes that are avoidable if you have the information that you need. And there are people out there in Africa, different parts of Africa, and Nigeria, Kenya, or wherever you're coming from, who are contemplating on moving to Canada or to anywhere in North America, for instance, and they have very little or minimal information about the country. You may also find this very helpful. And if you've been here, no matter how long you've been here, you may also find some of the things that I will talk about a little bit helpful to you as you proceed on your journey through this wonderful and beautiful nation. So I will start with number one now. Number one, childcare is very expensive in this part of the world, unless you're coming with a lot of money that will help you to sail through. If you're a couple trying to make it in life and you just come in here not with a lot of money, you will find that it is expensive to take care of children here. And so sometimes you want to be strategic about choosing the province that you want to live in. There are some provinces that have, family-friendly policies that, enable you to be able to still go to work and be able to take care of your children as well. I remember when I was a postdoctoral fellow and my wife was an undergraduate in a university. We were all in Quebec then, and we had a child. I had to go to work, I had to make a living, and my wife had to go to school as well. And so the question was, where were we going to put our child, our little toddler, our baby then? Quebec made it very easy for us to have a soft landing in this country because in Quebec you get a daycare system that allows people below a certain income threshold to be able to take their children to daycare for $7 a day, and that came to about $140 a month. Let me tell you, in some provinces you can pay as much as $2,000 a month just to have one child in a daycare. And so one of the things you want to ensure is that you're going to a province that allows you to be able to maximally make use of an opportunity that allows you to either go to school or to start well. And you can think of moving to other provinces as you go on. Now, Quebec is not the only province that allows, people that gives subsidies to families. There are other provinces as well that do that. Just do your research with respect to child care policies within the province you're moving to, and that will be quite helpful to you. And please note that this is a country governed by laws. You cannot leave your children at home and just go to work or go to school and leave the children at home by themselves. If the government gets wind of that, and there are people who will report you to the government, even your neighbors will report you to the government, they will take those children away from you. All right, so be very, very careful. Number two, if you have children that are of school age, you don't need to register them in a private school. In fact, private school is quite unnecessary in Canada here. You can take them to a public school. The public educational system is working pretty well, actually. And if you're uncomfortable taking your children to a public school and you think you want some religious content in what they're learning in school, you can take them to a Catholic school. My children have been enrolled in Catholic school since they started going to school, and they're doing very, very well, I can tell you that. Number three, have a budget, have a monthly budget and stick to it as much as possible. One of the things you're going to discover is that money flies out very, very easily in this part of the world. $1 here, $2 there, $10 there. Before you know what's happening, the account is dried up. It's dried up. So you want to have a monthly budget and ensure that you cut the fat, things that you don't necessarily need, that you just have at home. For instance, a lot of people use cable TV. Cable TV can be quite expensive, but people don't have time to watch TV. And so what I've done in my own house is to cut out cable TV. I don't have cable TV at home. I have a basic antenna. The antenna is good enough to get all the basic TV stations that I need at home. You will be surprised when you use a basic antenna, how many basic TV stations you can get. And you can, watch 10, 15 TV stations. That's just enough for any human being. You don't need too much TV for yourself or for your kids. Number 4, avoid consumer debt as much as possible. Don't go owing people money unless you're buying something that does not depreciate in value, like a house, for instance. But if you're buying something that may depreciate in value and you're using other people's money to do it, you're making a big mistake, because the fastest way to poverty in this part of the world is a debt that is not manageable, that you're not managing well. All right. If you have a house, learn to do some basic maintenance in your house by yourself. If you want to keep calling experts to come and help you for every small thing in your house, you're going to be throwing out a lot of money every single month. Things like painting a room, for instance. You learn to paint a room by yourself. You can learn to do basic maintenance on your furnace, for instance, just changing the filter. It's very easy and straightforward. I've done a lot of things within my house. At first I was nervous, but I went to YouTube. YouTube is a great resource to help you to be able to do certain things by yourself. I've installed a toilet before in my basement by myself. I've built a shed behind my house by myself. I've painted multiple rooms in my house by myself. And I do a lot of these things because the moment you call an expert in to come into your house, you're going to be paying them for just them showing up, especially when it comes to basic things that you should be able to do by yourself. So learn to do things by yourself. And that's not something we're used to over there in Africa, because we're used to just calling somebody to come do everything for us, and you pay them you pay them not a lot of money. But here it's going to cost you a lot of money to use the knowledge of an expert, right? Okay. Number 6, don't stop being hungry for something better. You may start slow here in this country. Don't limit yourself to where you've started in. You can get better. You can get a better salary. Do you have to go back to school and learn something new in school? Do you have to change your career? Sometimes people do that. I have a lot of friends who were medical doctors back home. When they got here, they became data scientists. You can learn a new skill. You can develop yourself. You can grow into whatever you want to grow into. There are many people who earn salaries here, but it's not the salary that is really helping them to survive. There are people who invest in the stock market. You just need to ask people what they do. I invest in the stock market. I'm going to talk about the stock market in a future episode of the Ponderables. And there are people who have a side gig or a side business that helps them to survive. When you see people flourishing in this country, don't be envious of them. Get closer to them and ask them questions about how they're doing it. Whatever you choose to do to elevate yourself from the current position that you're in, make sure it is legal. Make sure it is legal and not illegal. Number 7, have an emergency fund, a special saving account where you have money that you have left so that you can use that money to help you in case something unpredictable happens. Life happens. Life is unpredictable. You cannot predict what's going to happen tomorrow. Your car may break down tomorrow and you need funds urgently to help repair your car so that you can use your car to go to work where you earn an income. And you don't want to keep borrowing money to repair things in your house, for instance. And so it is advisable to have an emergency fund. You may even lose your job, God forbid, and that happens to a lot of people, especially, in this pandemic. A lot of people have lost their jobs. So what the experts advise is that you have between 3 and 6 months of salary saved in a special account that will help you when you need it. You need an emergency fund that allows you to continue to spend on your rent if you're paying rent, or on your mortgage if you're paying mortgage, or on your car insurance if you have a car, because all of those costs will keep piling up if you lose your job, or something happens, or maybe you fall sick and you're not able to go to work. You want to have that emergency fund somewhere and be disciplined about it. Don't touch it until there is a true emergency. Number 8, we pay taxes here. We pay taxes, and those taxes can be quite substantial as well sometimes. That's one of the biggest shocks to a lot of people when they come here and they get a job and they get their first paycheck, and they realize that the money is much less than was advertised, right? So there is the grand total and there is the net total. Net is what comes to you after you've paid all your taxes and everything that you need to pay for, and those things are taken directly from your pay, from your paycheck, right? So you come here and you see great roads. The roads are good. You don't have potholes. The hospital system is functioning properly, and the whole system is functioning as it ought to be functioning. And you have to think about it. If the government doesn't have taxes coming from the people, they're not going to have the money to fund all of this. The money has to come from somewhere, and it's from our taxes, right? So don't be mad about it. Don't be angry about it. It is your obligation to pay your taxes in this part of the world. Just because a job advertises that they're going to pay you $120,000 a year does not mean you get $10,000 a year in your bank account. They're going to slash it. So don't be shocked when that happens. Number 9, don't sign any document unless you know the details in and out. Some people may pressure you to sign certain documents. You can ask them for a few days to think about it. If you need to consult a lawyer to explain the fine print to you. When you put your signature on a document here, when you put your signature on a document, you are bound by the words in that agreement. There's nothing else that you can do. You cannot pray it away. All right, maybe if God has mercy on you, He will allow you to escape it and people to change their minds. But don't sign documents unless you have read every single detail and you are asking questions and you understand everything that needs to be understood. A lot of one of the big mistakes that people make is they buy a car, and they just sign. You're taking a loan and you just sign without even thinking or asking questions about the details of the loan that you're taking. You may end up crying over that, and there's nobody who's going to help you because your signature is on that document. So take your time. Don't be in a hurry. Don't let anybody pressure you into signing anything. If somebody's saying you're not going to be able to get this discount unless you sign the document today, that should be a cautious note to you that maybe you need to step back a little bit and don't let your emotions rule over you. Just ask them for a few days to look at the document and understand everything in the document as much as possible. Number 10, this one is critical. This one is very, very important. Insurance. Back home in Nigeria or in many parts of Africa, we don't take insurance that seriously. But here it is taken seriously because it can make the difference in your life. People can go from being very rich to being very poor within the twinkling of an eye if they don't have the right kind of insurance. Now, there are some insurance products that are mandatory, they are compulsory, they are required by law. For instance, automobile insurance, your car insurance. It is absolutely critical and important. You cannot drive a car in this part of the world if you don't have the required minimum insurance on that car. Now, for new immigrants, insurance premiums can be very expensive because you've never had any insurance in North America before, but that does not preclude you from the requirement to have an insurance. If you want to drive a car, make sure you have insurance on it. If you're driving a car or caught driving a car without insurance, your car will be impounded immediately. So take note of that. There are some that are discretionary, some types of insurance that are discretionary. Home insurance, for instance, unless you're taking a mortgage from a lender that requires you to have an insurance to protect the lender from unforeseen circumstances, you may choose not to have a home insurance, but it is unadvisable. Don't do it because things happen. Anything can happen to your house, and you don't want to be in a situation where something happens to your house and you don't have the funds to rebuild your house, right? There are people who have lost their homes to to earthquakes or to fire, for instance, and God forbid you have loss of human lives. But when that happens, what the insurance does is to help you to rebuild everything from the ground up, right? So you don't pay anything to have the house rebuilt. So you should have insurance there. One of the other types of insurance that people take lightly is life insurance. It is irresponsible. It is irresponsible to have a spouse and children and not have life insurance, because you don't want to create a situation where something happens to you, God forbid, you die, God forbid, and you leave your family in pain and penury. What happens is that when or if, God forbid, you die, the insurance company will pay your family a certain amount of money to keep them going in the absence of maybe the breadwinner of the house. You don't want to leave your family in penury when you die, or if you die suddenly. May God keep all of us and help us to grow into old age. But things happen in this life. Old people die, young people die. You need life insurance, especially if you have a spouse and you have children that need to be taken care of if something were to happen to you. One other type of insurance that people ignore and play Russian roulette with is travel insurance, travel health insurance. You're here and maybe you have a baby and you're bringing your mom or your dad to come take care of your kids for you, and you don't have health insurance for them. God forbid something bad happens to them, they fall on the staircase or they have an injury or something that is untoward happens to them. Then you have to take them to the emergency department. The emergency department will take care of them, and the costs keep piling up. When those costs come back, they will come back to you, because sometimes they can be as much as maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you don't have travel insurance to take care of that bill, the responsibility will fall on you, because when you signed the immigration documents to bring that person here, you said you're going to be responsible for everything, every cost they accrue to the government. And so the government will come after you to pay the bills. So make sure when you're bringing them here, the insurance can be a little bit, expensive, maybe around $2,000 a year, but it is better to pay that $2,000 than to have a bill of $100,000 come to your house. You may lose your house, you may lose everything, all the properties you think you have in this part of the world, that things that are making you happy. You may lose all of that if something happens to that person and you're not able to take care of them with your money. You may lose the money in your bank account as well. So this is not meant to scare you, it's just meant to give you important information. You may not use that insurance at all, but it is good to have it there in case something happens. And you want to make sure that you mitigate the risk of anything untoward happening to your own lifestyle here in this country. On a final note, Canada is a wonderful country. The United States is also a wonderful country. Those are two countries that allow people to move up the ladder. You start from one financial level, you can move to the next higher financial level, but you need to do things the right way. And I hope you've learned one or two things from the topic today. So I will see you again next time. Keep believing, keep loving, and keep shining. God bless you. Bye-bye.